In this video, I'm going to show you how to change between grams of one substance to moles of a different substance. Now, as I go through the video and write on the screen, you need to copy this down onto your worksheet. So feel free to pause and jot and then hit play when you're ready to continue writing and watching the video. So to go from grams of A to grams of B, we're going to have to change from grams of substance A, like that will be our given, to moles of substance B. So they give us grams to start with, and they're asking us for moles of a different substance to end with. Now, we cannot go from grams of A to moles of B directly. There is not a conversion that will get us there, but we can do it in multiple steps. And so your first step is to go from grams of substance A to moles of substance A. Now, we've already done this. We've done this using our molar mass, or our mass from the periodic table. Okay. When you go to do this, your mass of your substance will be your old unit. And so that will go on the bottom in your parentheses. And then we want to find moles of A. So 1 mole of your substance will be on the top in your parentheses. So doing this conversion from grams to moles gets us into moles. But now we're still not there. We're still not in moles of B. But we can use our mole ratio to go from moles of A to moles of B. So your second step would be your mole ratio, using your coefficients from the equation of these two substances that you have in the question. When you go to do your mole ratio, the moles of the substance you started with, so substance A, will be at the bottom. And then your moles of the substance you want to find from your equation B will be on top, so that your moles of A cancels out. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to use these two steps together in question number 2 below. So our first question is, how many moles of H2 are produced when 20.6 grams of H2O are reacted? So I'm going to use the orange to show what I want, which is moles of H2, because that's what they're asking us to find. And then I'm going to use blue to show my given, what I start with. So remember, your given number has your old units. So in this case, our old units are grams H2O. And then what we want to find is our new units, which is moles H2. Okay. So I'm going to write out the path, just like we did in our conversion steps up here, in the space down here, so you can see exactly what we want to do. So we're starting with grams H2O. The first thing I need to do is go to moles of H2O, because that'll make us able to change from moles of H2O to moles of H2. So that is our first step. The way I'm going to do that is by using the molar mass of H2O. Now, I already gave you it, so you can focus on setting it up, but eventually you will need to know where to find the molar mass and mole ratio. So our first step is 20.6 grams H2O, and we need to change it to moles of H2O. So because grams is our old unit goes on the bottom. My new unit, moles H2O, is going to go on the top. Now the numbers that go with us come from our molar mass. So the mass of H2O from the periodic table is 18.02 grams, and that is equal to 1 mole. Okay, so that was step number 1. Now that we have our answer in moles of H2O, we need to do step 2, which is mole ratio, to get to find our moles of H2. Okay. So we are going to use mole ratio. 2 moles H2 equals 2 moles, or 2 moles H2O equals 2 moles H2 from our equation. Now remember, those numbers come from our coefficients of the substances we're using. Okay, because mole H2O is what I am starting with, moles H2O is going to go on the bottom. Every time you have multiple parentheses, the top unit of the previous parenthesis goes in the bottom of the next one, and that's to cancel out your units. And then I want to find moles H2, so that's going to go on the top, so that moles H2O cancels out. Okay, so now I can put the numbers with these units. So from my equation, there's a 2 in front of H2O. That's going to be the number that goes on the bottom. And then the coefficient with H2 from the equation is 2, so that's going to be the number that goes on top. So what we're left with is just our units, moles H2. So when you go to put this in a calculator, you're going to put it in the same as before, except instead of hitting enter after your first parentheses, you are just going to add another set of parentheses. So it should look something like this: 20.6 times parenthesis top divided by bottom. So 1 divided by 18.02 parenthesis. Don't hit enter here. Just type in another parenthesis, 2 divided by 2, and then close your parentheses, then hit enter. So when you go to do this problem, your answer will come out to be 1.14 moles H2. Make sure you have your units, not only here, but throughout the entire problem. They should all be written for every number. No number should be by itself. It should have the unit, moles or grams, and the substance. So we're going to do this one more time before you try doing a question yourself. So using the balance equation and conversion factors below, we need to determine the number of moles of H2O. So that's what I want, needed to make 100 grams of O2. And that is the number I was given. So we are starting in grams of O2. The first thing you need to do is to get it into moles of O2 by using your molar mass of O2. So your first parenthesis is going to be that first conversion, your mass. Right? So setting it up, 100 grams goes on the outside. Make sure you have grams and O2 written. If I know that's what I'm starting with, that's my old unit, that unit's going to go on the bottom. So grams O2 on the bottom. I want to find moles O2, so that's going to go on the top. Now I can use my conversion factor, my 1 mole equals the mass of O2 from the periodic table, and fill in that first parentheses. So on the bottom with our grams is the mass of O2 from the periodic tables, O plus O, or 16 plus 16, which would give us 32. and your mass is always equal to 1 mole. So 1's going to go on the top. So this cancels out our grams of O2. And now we're left with moles O2, but that is not our final destination. We need to get into moles of H2O. So to go from moles of O2 to moles of H2O, I need to do my mole ratio as my second step. So my second parentheses is going to be my mole ratio using my coefficients from the equation that they gave us. Now, we are now starting with moles O2. So moles O2 is going to go on the bottom in our second parentheses, so it cancels the unit out. And I want to find moles H2O, so that's going to go on the top. Now we can fill in our numbers from our mole ratio. So in front of O2 in our chemical equation is 1. That's where I got 1 mole O2. That's going to go on the bottom. In our chemical equation, we have a 2 in front of H2O. That's going to be your moles for your mole ratio. So that's going to go on the top. Now you can put this in your calculator and solve. So it would be 100 times parenthesis, top divided by bottom, 1 divided by 32, parenthesis, new parenthesis, 2 divided by 1, parenthesis. Then you can hit enter. So your answer would be 6.25 moles H2O. So not only do we have our number, we have our unit, we have moles, and we have our substance. So remember, all three of these things need to be with your answer, but also with every single number in your equation. I do take points off if you don't have them, but the reason that you need to have them is so that you can keep track of the units that are canceling and what you're left with to make sure that your numbers are in the right places. If you're just putting numbers without the units and the substance that they're with, you can end up putting them in the wrong spots. Okay, so what you're going to do now is you are going to try the check for understanding number 1 and 2. So that is questions 4 and 5 on your worksheet. You're going to submit your answers on the Google form. If you get it wrong, it will direct you to a video on how to correct it. So please make sure it is corrected on your paper if it's wrong. If you got the answer right, it's going to just push you to the next question, and you can move on.